I think everybody is in high josh today, but the battle that we have signed up for is, we can use the word final battle if you like, a grand culmination of all these, not just centuries, but millenniums of effort that has gone into. Now it is too close. That's why we see many issues coming up, because it's in its final stages. Or we can look at this, if we don't like the word battle, we can look at it like a great game. And this game is, this is one of the things about Sri Aurobindo. He does not regard this world as an illusion, nor does he regard this world as a preparation for another world. There is a kind of Vedantic thought which is evolutionary in nature, and also in Tantra, where through different forms the soul evolves till it is ready to go into either moksha or another world. But this world itself is a great unfolding of the divine. And why at this point we do not find it divine is because, one, partly because we ourselves are very limited beings, limited in our vision, limited in our understanding, limited in terms of time, limited in context, limited to the surfaces of things. So we really don't see and know what is happening in the depths. So this is one reason. Second is, it is distorted. There is a truth within which is manifesting, but many players come into the play. So many layers and levels of consciousness, the gods, the titans, and of course humans and all else in between, which slightly distorts, gives it an angle of vision. And it is enough that by the time the final picture comes, like the original order passed by the head of a big family or a company or a nation, and by the time it trickles down, it changes completely. So this is the second reason. And everybody gives a little twist. That's enough for it to become a massive twist, almost upside down. Mother speaks of this in one of the places, that every time I inspire people, they add something from themselves, and ultimately it changes into something very opposite. In fact, when I send somebody my love, the person ends up eventually thinking that I do not like him. She says that it just takes the opposite turn. This is the way it gets distorted in the human consciousness. And third reason why we do not find it divine, though it is divine in the making, because it's still an evolutionary progression. It's still half built, half made, or as Sri Aurobindo would say, it's still something which is yet to be finished. It's not yet complete. The full picture is not yet emerged. So because of these three basic reasons, we do not find this world perfect. Of course, our idea of perfect is a very limited one that we spoke about earlier, but divine, at least fundamentally. So what we have to do is, we have to correct our vision, get the cataract removed, and have the divine glasses to see. That vision is Savitri. By merely reading, this vision grows. That's the beauty of this. Secondly, we have to, at least from our side, whatever distortions that could come, we have to remove by making our consciousness like a mirror, transparency, sincerity. These are the things, aspiration, which cleanses the glass, by which we can make this, our being, more or less a mirror which reflects the divine working without distortion. That means working on the ego, or rather offering it till it goes completely. And regarding the third thing, that it is still a world in the making or divine in the making, we have to wait with patience, perseverance, endurance, and above all, trust and confidence that the divine knows what is to be done and is doing it. So these are the three basic things. But condemning the world or hastily taking an otherworldly route is not the way of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's Yoga. Now, Mr. Death, only Death, no need to call him Mr. But some change is coming up in him, because it's also a story of the transformation of death. If death converts, or if those beings great beings who oppose, human beings are just the puppet of a play of forces. If they themselves change, then very naturally things will change. So one of the work of the mother is to transform these four asuras, and thereby automatically, which, and she was asked, that has been done. But she says that the roots it has been done. Now when it is done at the root, many of the flowers or the branches and the leaves, they are still there, but it's just a matter of time that they'll begin to dry up. It's just a question of time. But at the root, she has injected the divine love, which is the perfect remedy, which is going to change. And here we are also seeing the transformation of the Asura, who at his roots is beginning to admit. That's what we read just where we stopped, that slowly death, which is the great denial, begins to change into doubt. Then it becomes a cry of life. Many streamed paths since the time Earth began, 15 billion years ago, life has been struggling. So he says, yes, I know some change is taking place. I can see that much. That from the reptile's crawl, it begins to fly in the sky. And from the bird, it begins to, run on the plains. And I have also seen man grow up. But there is always a but. He says, all this is fine, but these are just little alterations. Some changes are there, but still there is disease, still there is death, still I am the Lord, still there is evil, still there is suffering. So this is his cry. And Savitri answers that, look, you have not seen the full picture. Look at this, how it is changing. So now death, once again, the great voice surging cried to Savitri. Page 650, somewhere down the middle. The great voice surging cried to Savitri, because thou knowest the wisdom that transcends both veil of forms and the contempt of forms. Arise, delivered by the seeing gods. So there is a wisdom in knowing that this form is not all. Appearance is not all. Wisdom teaches us that this is an appearance, there is some greater truth behind it. And there are great sages who know about it, and they have discovered that reality beyond the play of forms. So this is wisdom. But there is another wisdom, a greater wisdom. Isha Upanishad speaks about it. Vidyancha, yasta dvedo bhayam saha, or sambhuti and asambhuti. Form itself, what is form? Form is an attempt or effort of the divine to express himself. So that's the other part of it. So there is the veil of forms and a wisdom that transcends the veil of forms. But there is also a wisdom which does not condemn form, does not look upon form as a contempt, but looks upon it as an unfolding of the divine. So this is the wisdom that Savitri already has. This dual wisdom is necessary. Otherwise we'll either be completely stuck in the form and just be lost in this life, or else we will just be living in the transcendent world and declare all this life as meaningless, as just a illusion, etc., etc. So death observes and congratulates Savitri, so to say, that I appreciate that not only you are not having ordinary wisdom, you have the wisdom that shows you behind appearances, but at the same time you also have the wisdom which knows the significance of forms. And therefore he says, arise, delivered by the seeing gods. Now what is this delivered by the seeing gods? Follows subsequently. And now he gives her a piece of advice. Now in this piece of advice, we'll say he is still creating a gulf between the passive side of the divine and the dynamic side. Mother puts it in a very nice way. She says often when people speak about grace, they always think of the solace and peace it brings in life. So, and she says in today's time of stress, etc., it is indeed a very important aspect of grace. But there is another side of the grace which urges us to progress. So it is a grace which comes to challenge our limits, take us beyond our limits, and bids us to rise higher and higher in the scale of our evolution. So that is something which we don't much appreciate. Normally, when we speak of divine, we conceptualize someone sitting quietly, always in meditation. Divine is someone who is in trance. But we have in our Indian conception, he is not only Shiva the Ashutosh, but also Rudra. Not only Gauri, but also Kali. But we quietly ignore this part. So, Death is also trying to play that game with Savitri. He says, you are great, very wise, but there is only one problem, Savitri. If free thou hadst kept thy mind from life's fierce stress, thou mightst have been like them, omniscient, calm. Seeing gods. You could have just watched the play. Gods watch the play. Sometimes some of them come into the play, and that he will come subsequently. So, I don't know why you are getting involved into affairs of the earth. You are a wise one. Just stay quiet, withdraw from this life, and choose that high station which you deserve. Now he is, luring and trying to flatter and everything possible, but driving is schism. But the violent and passionate heart forbids. Your defect, your problem, you are too passionate. You should try to completely quiet everything and withdraw like the wise. Have you seen the last yogi who was sitting in the Himalayan cave? You must be like him. What are you doing upon earth with husband and Dumat Sena and all these? This is not your work. You are a wise one. So listen to me. That is what he is saying. It is the storm bird of an anarch power. Because Savitri has said, I have love in my heart. He said, love. Love is the dangerous thing. That is your problem. If you didn't have love, you will be very wise. This is your problem. It is the storm bird of an anarch power that would upheave the world and tear from it the indecipherable scroll of fate, death's rule and law, and the unknowable will. So that he does not appreciate. The Kali, the Mahisasur Mardini, that he says, that is the problem. You should be like those gods who are quietly seated above watching this world play, like the sages who are quietly meditating in some, caves. So you should be like that. Once in a while you can come to Kumbh, but otherwise you stay in your place. Why are you interfering, living life of an ordinary human being? Hasteners to action, violators of God. He says they come and upset everything. At one place, Sri Aurobindo says, what is Krishna? There are several places he had described him beautifully. In one of his writings, he says, Krishna is revolution. Wherever Krishna comes, he upsets the whole way of life. This is what he did. If you really look at the story of Bhagavat, what did Krishna do? He completely changed the humanity of that time. Otherwise, they were leading a very peaceful life, saying that, we are very happy with Kansa. He charges us a little more. What is there? He gives us protection. After all, he is the king. He has a right to charge us. This was their thought. For the rest, we pray to gods. Indra gives us water. We pray to Indra, etc., etc. And what does Krishna teach them? Stop praying to this fellow, Kansa. Stop praying to Indra. Pray to Govardhan. He is the real fellow. He completely changes them. And even if we see the Gita, there are so many revolutionary things in the Gita. Look at the divine telling Arjuna that you are being a weak-kneed man who is talking about asceticism on the battlefield when there is a clarion call for war. Sri Aurobindo himself, people have turned him into a pacifist. What did Sri Aurobindo write in one of his letters? I have lived my life dangerously, even after his Nirvana and Vasudevam Sarvamiti. If you really look at it, Sri Aurobindo was conducting newspapers, he was in the thick of revolution, and then he goes on to add, now that I wage the war from a single room, solitary room, it is not less dangerous. He is constantly in the battlefield. When we read Sri Aurobindo's poem, it's just that he changed the mode of action, that's all. But how we look at it is our way. Hasteners to action, violators of God, are these great spirits who have too much love. This is your diagnosis. He has put some barometer, done some blood test and diagnosed that Savitri, too much love. Even I am beginning to change. I am forgetting my law. I am beginning to learn to live. This is not fair. I am death. I am forgetting my own identity under your pressure. You have too much love. This is not good. Have come into the narrow bounds of life. No. Are these great spirits who have too much love, and they who form like thee, for both art thou. So one is that there is too much love, second is hasteners to action. And you have both of them in you. Not only you have love, okay, you have love, you turn it to God, but you are hastener to action. Both things. Satyavan has hardly died and you are chasing me. Hasteners to action. So he says, all those people who are formed like you, they are the problem creators. Otherwise, my rule is so nice. No animal ever revolted. Animals quietly accept when they have to die, they die. Sage-like, calm. Why can't you be like them? Why do you want to change? This is called spiritual activism. And they who form like thee, for both art thou, have come into the narrow bounds of life with two large natures overleaping time. So, you alone are enough, but your matrikas are also there in this life. So, you always have those stories of the Divine Mother's incarnation. If you read, my God, Sri Aurobindo describes in Ilion about Helen. Helen is an incarnation of the Divine Mother. She has come to destroy that civilization, and establish new standards of living. So, what was the standard before that? Married means that's it. Helen brought in a new standard of life. No, love is. Now, nobody had imagined. So, she goes of her own free will. She says, no, I love him. And so she goes, whatever be the reasons. Now, it's unthought about. And there is a war. And see, after Priam has asked everybody, all the chieftains in his kingdom, should we have war, should we not? Last he asks Helen. He says, I am going to ask you only one question. Do you still love my boy? And she says, yes. He says, all right, we will have a war for love. Imagine. Whole civilization is going to be destroyed. Troy is not just a nation or a clan. It's a civilization. So much development had taken place in Troy, which all around Greece had not developed. But she had come precisely to bring it down so that the entire thing can develop. So there is a very beautiful passage in Ilion where Sri Aurobindo describes Helen. She says, great was the day when I married Menelaus, and great when I crossed the threshold and held Paris' hands and came all the way to Troy. And great is it that the whole nations go to war for Helen, and great that they burn in flames. If you read that, shuddering. It's only a godlike nature who can say that. Like burning of nations, pulling them down is nothing. That's what Draupadi did. She said, I'm not going to, Draupadi is like that, Kali's avatar. She says, I'm not going to play the victim. Oh, I am such a sad Abla Nari, start a Me Too campaign. Nothing. She says, I am going to pull down from the ramparts these creatures. And she does it. She accompanies the Pandavas. This is the kind of fierce strength, love, wisdom, all three together. Sri Aurobindo speaks of wisdom, love and strength, which are the triumvirate of manhood. But death does not like such natures because they upset his reign. So death says, those who are made like thee have large natures. So when they come to earth, they find life too narrow and restricting. So they want to break free from the molds because these molds cannot accommodate what they bring from the high domains. They are large natures. Worshippers of force who know not her recoil. Their giant wills compel the troubled ears. They bring force, and sometimes it recoils because one may not be ready to bear it. See what happened to Napoleon. Sri Aurobindo said he was a vibhuti. He saw the arm of God going through Europe. But there was a recoil. When was the recoil? The day he actually kept away Josephine. That's how Vivekananda puts it. She was his strength. And the day he almost discarded her, that day he was foredoomed. The next it happens when he says, I am France. This was the big mistake. You are a slave of France. You are not France. The day he decided, I am France, and by then the work was over, Sri Aurobindo writes, Kali broke him and cast him aside. So natures which come with too much will to change, they have to be so careful, because one step this way, it recoils. They have brought into the earth atmosphere such forces and energies. So he says they don't know this. And then he tells her once again, the wise are tranquil, silent the great hills, rise ceaselessly towards their unreached sky, seated on their unchanging base, their heads dreamless in heaven's immutable domain. So she gives an advice to Savitri, take a ticket, go to high reaches of Himalaya, sit in meditation with some of these sages. It will make you wise and quiet, tranquil like the heavens. They have gone beyond even dreams and are staying in a state of immobile trance. So Savitri, this is what I recommend for you. On their aspiring tops, sublime and still, lifting halfway to heaven the climbing soul, the mighty mediators stand content to watch the revolutions of the stars. They have no business with earth and earthly life. Be like them. You will breathe at least a heavenly air, half in heaven, even if the body will eventually have some issues and problems. But this is my recommendation. So without asking, he has diagnosed and given a prescription to Savitri. Next, he would probably buy a ticket, air ticket, go to one of these Himalayan ranges. Mother says that. He says, people have tried to form an ideal world and they have always thought of a remote, isolated place like the Himalayas. Then she muses over it and says, perhaps, but it does not take in all the problems of the world. It's always imperfect and always incomplete. And of course, she's referring to those mythical stories of Shangri-La and many such places. She says it's incomplete because you have never taken the problems of life. That's why when children came in, post-war, so she said, they came a little prematurely, we were not prepared. But anyways, we had to at some point of time take up the problems of human nature as they stand today, which means everything. So it's okay. Then this she's speaking much later. She said it took us 30 years to cover up that ground. But it's all right. Ultimately, we have taken everything within us. So this is how she looked at life. But death is giving her his piece of advice. Motionlessly moving with the might of earth, they see the ages pass and are the same. The wise think with the cycles, they hear the tread of far-off things. Patient, unmoved they keep their dangerous wisdom in their depths restrained, lest man's frail days into the unknown should sink. Dragged like a ship by bound Leviathan. He says that they know, this wise know that maybe after 10,000 years this will happen. We see that even Ashwapati is told this. Don't hasten the descent. After, eventually in the cycle of time, one day change will take place. How many ups and downs, don't worry about it. But he says, no, I want you to come down and change time. So he's given an analogy that even when they know that the change will take place, they wait so that man, because man, if he's not ready, that was one of the biggest challenges of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. That man is not ready, world is not ready. Now they have brought this, but his ship will sink like bound Leviathan. Now Leviathan, of course, is a sea monster, but also used for anything very heavy. Now if a ship is driving a sea monster, sea monster will invariably sink the ship. So he's saying this wisdom is too dangerous. Man will not know how to contain it. He will break down. So he is again cautioning her, don't try this. dragged like a ship by bound Leviathan into the abyss of his stupendous seas. Lo, how all shakes when the gods tread too near. Mahabharata, Ramayana, Hanuman is a god, the naughtiest child in the class. All the teachers are worried about this one boy, doesn't listen to anybody, goes to the sages, plucks their beard to see whether it's real or nakli. Because Hanuman is a god. He is not, he wants to, whether it's a hypocrisy or not. That's how the gods are. Then suddenly one day he takes a fancy, I want to eat the sun. It's like a good orange. Gods are like that. They're not like this that, sitting quietly like a sadhu bacha. There is a story of even Tagore, very interesting story where, parents come to visit and Tagore is sitting with his head below and there is a child quietly sitting in front of him doing everything, homework and all. So the parents see all the other children, somebody is climbing the tree, somebody is running about. And they tell him, what is the use? See, this is what you created. I mean, only one child who is worth all this, who is quietly sitting. All the others are running about and you are holding your head down. What is the use? He says, no, I am not holding my head down for others. I am wondering what's wrong with this child. He cannot feel the joy of nature. He doesn't have the urge to go and explore. He's not an explorer. He's not an adventurer. He's sitting with his pouring on the book. What kind of a child he is? What to do? So these natures, mother's granddaughter Purnadi was telling me when she came, young girl, so everybody had almost, parents were unhappy, or everybody in her family was unhappy. Teachers, they all had written her off. So she came and told mother that, I don't know, I think I have to meet you. Something is wrong. I have this nature and everybody kind of condemns me. So mother said, no. They don't understand you. Nothing wrong with you. They don't understand you. And then she stayed on and then how the change came. Many of these natures come with the inherent urge to change. And I see many of these youngsters, one thing they don't like is hypocrisy. So if you tell them touch the feet of the elders, they will ask, why should we touch? Is he really worthy of respect? They'll ask you 100 questions. No, he's your kaka, maybe. It doesn't matter. I don't recognize kaka. I recognize good people, friends. I recognize that because they are living. Already the gods are, those kind of children are coming. So he says, look what happens. When gods come here, last time they came was in the Mahabharata time. Arjuna, Bhima, eating like a glutton, going into Naglok, creating such chaos, When he was born, a chattan broke down. He says that gods, when they come near, it creates chaos. Please don't try once again your experiment. All the gods will come near and earth will be in disaster. All moves is in peril, anguished, torn, upheaved when the gods work. Sri Aurobindo says when he describes gods and the titans, he says, but power is included. Gods, they work mightily. Only they work veiled by the light. The difference between a titanic working is, Titan's working is restless will. It is driven by an aggressive will to dominate and crush others. But gods are also very strong. They can fight. But they always, even in their fight, their heart is full of that love and wisdom. But they can be very powerful. Sri Aurobindo speaks of that. The difference between a titanic being who is violent and the godlike, not violence, not the right word, but a godlike action. The hurrying aeons would stumble on too swift if strength from heaven surprised the imperfect earth and veilless knowledge smote these unfit souls. He says, human beings need to live in measures, codes, laws, rules set by society. If heaven's knowledge comes, all these measures will be gone. See, this is what we see, this similar thing in Shiva Puran. That is the problem of Prajapati Daksh. Because he has to build this world and he has set a lot of rules and regulations. He has, to every creature, he gives an almanac. Do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. If you do this, I'll hand it over to police. If you do this, I'll file a court case against you. Shiva doesn't believe in any rule. That is the problem. He doesn't want Shiva to come near. Because if Shiva comes, all measures are shattered. Shiva believes in an inner law. It's not that he is a lawless. He has an inner law. He appreciates that. But not an external. That's why he walks with the Marikshala. So Daksh Pratapati says what kind of a god he is, doesn't have a proper dressing sense. That is one of his problems. At least he should come in my kingdom in gentlemanly ways, suited and booted. And why is walking up like this? At least a good dhoti with a ang vastra. But Shiva says, I can't help it. And what is he carrying snakes with him? Shiva is free. Where do you live? What is your address? He says, Shamshan. That is the story behind Daksha, who wants to live society according to certain norms. That's why in ancient India, they knew that people who realize the divine or are on that path become dangerously wide. They don't follow social norms. So what they used to do, they used to say, you be an ascetic, live in the forest. When you come, we will give you nice things to eat. Don't stay for more than 1 or 2 days. Otherwise, our children will get affected. See, look at Swami Vivekananda, so free a person, going everywhere and whatever dress they gave adopted. He didn't follow any norms. Sri Ramakrishna was told that, sometimes he drinks wine. He said, doesn't matter whether he drinks wine or eats meat. He will purify everybody. This actually documented. Well, they are beings very wide, vast. So death is cautioning, Savitri, please, I don't want to see that again. My domain will be disturbed. The deities have screened their dreadful power. God hides his thought and even he seems to err. The whole, session can be on God seems to err because he is wise. To put it cryptically, because he is wise. It's like when, to give an example, parents play with the child. This screening the power. Supposing a parent want to teach the child chess or some game. So what would he do? Straight away beat him. No, he will gradually tax his strength. Then will come a time. Then slowly he will upgrade him. It will look like he has made a mistake because thus alone he can grow. So that is how God works. Seemingly through error, he builds knowledge. That is his way. Mother has given a whole commentary on this. Be still and tardy in the slow wise world. Mighty art thou with the dread goddess filled, to whom thou criest at dawn in the dim woods. Use not thy strength like the wild Titan souls. He doesn't know her strength is of the gods. This is an antagonism we have created. Very beautifully, Sri Aurobindo corrects it in the very first few chapters of Essays on the Gita. He says that there is a tendency to look upon a whole side of life like war and battle as something undivine, unholy. Only gods are all non-violent people. They will, if somebody slaps on their one cheek, they will say, take cheek and hand and feet and slap me. That is not holy. That is stupid. So he says, but gods are, Sri Aurobindo says that gods, they will not accept this. There is a whole side which is also God. And then he gives the example of Kali and Rudra. He says that it is true that peace and love are the ultimate truths. But Rudra still holds the world in the hollow of his hands. The debt to Rudra must be paid before the law of Vishnu can prevail. And mother loved this sentence very much. When it was read out to her, she says, wonderful, he has put so beautifully. The debt to Rudra, so true, so true. She gives a whole commentary on debt to Rudra. Those forces have shaped this world. You have to meet them at their own ground. So this is where, but he is dissuading her. Touch not the seated lines, the ancient laws. Respect the calm of great established things. So when there has to be progress, then established things break down. That we are seeing today. It's a sign that progress is going to come. All the established things will go. And Sri Aurobindo speaks of it in one of the essays. He says, the Pandits are right when they say in Kali Yuga, things go away. There is a catharsis. Kali Vraja, they discharge. He says, but they are wrong in thinking only bad things will go. Even good things will go. Because what has to come is greater than the good and bad of the previous times. If you look at the Mahabharata, that's how it is. Even the good men like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, even that has to go. Yudhishthira has to go. All that yardstick and standards were being misused by humanity. They had become old dead laws, defunct things. So they had to go. And in its place, something new has to come. But death is trying to dissuade us. He's saying, see, all these are laws made by God. Don't interfere in God's plan. Just leave them. Everybody who is born will die one day. This is the law. So why you want to interfere with this? Love and all is within human limits. Don't stretch it to, talk about eternal love, immortal love. It doesn't exist. So if you are talking about all these things, people will just go crazy. Already they are. So this is the argument of death. But Savitri replied to the huge God. Look at every description. Huge, he's, shadow. He's trying to, scare that, I am still, even though he is beginning to change. What is the calm thou wantest, O law, O death? What do you mean by calm? Is it not the dull-visioned tread inert of monstrous energies changed in a stark round, soulless and stone-eyed with mechanic dreams? You mean tamas? He's telling. Calm? You mean tamas? In the name of inner life, you are advocating an inert life with a little change of letter? He's trying to, put that. Is this what you mean by calm? Mechanically dragging the load of creation with no dreams, no urge, no passion, no hope, no joy and will to live? That life is like an animal. Vain the soul's hope if changeless law is all. Soul has come empowered to change. It is embodied. The divine has sent the soul into darkness so that darkness can grow into light. That is the very purpose of the soul. It is here to break the chains or to change the chains. It is not here to be dragged by the chains. That's not what the soul is here for. Ever to the new and the unknown press on, the speeding aeons justifying God. He says, don't say aeons are unchanging. There is constant new which comes into the world. It's so true. Every generation actually has to be a step ahead. We may not understand, that's our problem. But it is a step ahead. And a day will come when even in the clang of the tool and the hammer, they will feel the presence of God. But it will go through a passage. He's saying aeons, if you look through the aeons, how God is changing things. What was established law 500 years back, triple talaq, it's no more a law. That's what it is. Life is like that. What was an established law? That woman has to stay indoors. Her place is the hearth and the child. Now she is taking up a job, and I know of some men who are happy looking after the child. Why not? They can cook at home and they can look after the child. If a woman is serving, everything is possible. The law itself is changing. Already we can see. At least there is an equal footing coming in, and many such things are happening in the world because nothing is fixed like that. If we go to different countries, we'll see that how they've evolved. 100, 150 years back, I think even 100 years or a little more than that back, women had no voting rights. Anywhere in the world, not only India. When we see 70 years back, Audrey Hepburn wearing a pant and it was like, oh, she's a bad girl. Now it doesn't matter. You may be wearing any which dress. Dress doesn't define you. So all these changes are coming and many more will. This is just a beginning. It is just an imperfectly caught glimpse. What is going to come is much deeper and higher, but at least the old laws are breaking down. And we can't help it because that is the way evolution takes place and progression takes place. Even the good things are gone. What were earth's ages if the grey restrained were never broken and glory sprang not forth, bursting their obscure seed, while man's slow life leaped hurried into sudden splendid paths by divine words and human gods revealed. Someone asked Sri Aurobindo this question. But sir, so and so has not said, so and so has not said, you are saying something new. He said, if bringing something new is a crime, then all the great ones have done that crime. And if you really see, Buddha, he tore aside the Karma Kandas of the Vedas. In fact, he is regarded as Avedic initially. Now he is accepted as part of the Vedic lore. Who can deny that Buddha is mighty? Or his action is just nothing but a trivial action? Krishna changed the law. Even Rama, people swear by him. See, he taught people such values. What values? When his wife walks with him, Rama says, okay, come. He doesn't say, you look after my in-laws, that is the good thing to do. He lets her come with him. It's strange. Rama, in many ways, in the animal life, he established the rule of one wife. Rama established that rule. Because in animal consciousness, that's what is required. So many things in Rama's time which were prevalent. A king could have 2, 3 wives. It was the way of life. Rama changed that. As a king, he established a new yardstick. That was again overpassed because time moves forward. But in his own time, Rama was a revolutionary. So every of these beings, each one has actually come and revolutionized, brought in something new. So Sri Aurobindo says that, well, if you go by that logic, then everybody has committed that same mistake. So he has also now brought something new, and we try to quote all the past realizations. Impose not upon sentient minds and hearts the dull fixity that binds inanimate things. Death, your rule is up till matter. That also I am going to snatch away. Inanimate things. Even animals start behaving differently when they are in contact with human beings. And sentient creatures, man who is conscious, is he born to just bend beneath the yoke? He is born to challenge the yoke. So she says that your rule is there. Don't illegitimately take it to sentient beings, conscious beings. Well is the unconscious rule for the animal breeds, content to live beneath the immutable yoke. Man turns to a nobler walk, a master path. So sometimes this idea of unchanging life throughout ages can be a stone-like life. So when Sri Aurobindo was asked, it's not necessarily a virtue. When Sri Aurobindo was asked about, I believe the first supermind is going to come and it's going to come, here, and those in the playground will change first, receive it first. Sri Aurobindo said, in that case, I won't receive it. Of course, half jokingly, half true. But there is an interesting aside to it. Every time Amrita would say that I want to go to the playground, everybody is going. Mother would say, how stupid. So again, after some days, again he saw people in half pant. Again he felt the urge. I want to go to playground. Mother said, stupid. Because she loved him so much and he alone could, everything from mother was a gift of grace. And then when Sri Aurobindo was told that I believe those near you are the first ones to be transformed, he said, in that case, the thing on my table, which is kept on the table, that will change first. It's that stone-like state of mankind, a dullness, an ideal mechanical round of things, the need to live in comfort zones. That's not manhood. Even a Buddha is not idle. Inwardly, he is moving very fast. Today conquering one desire, tomorrow challenging another, third day mastering a third one, fourth day He is going to solve the suffering of the world. This is the inner life of man, the inner battle. Even when it may look unchanging, it is ever changing and breaking into new grounds. So this is what Savitri says. It's not necessary that one has to change outwardly, but inwardly one has to change like a fire. I trample on thy law with living feet, for to arise in freedom I was born. This man's deepest urge, to rise in freedom. Of course, freedom will not come if he's a slave of nature. That's the paradox. He has to master himself. And there is so much joy when we have something to master, when we detect something. That's why Mother says, when you detect something which is wrong in us, she doesn't use the word wrong, like an imperfection in us, you should be happy because you have now one more fellow to conquer. And not be sad, oh, I have this problem. I have one more challenge of life. If I am mighty, let my force be unveiled, equal companion of the dateless powers, or else let my frustrated soul sink down, unworthy of Godhead in the original sleep. These are the words of a heroic, what shall I say, Divine Mother, heroic soul. Like Sri Aurobindo says in Essays on the Gita, it is the way he puts it. Sri Krishna has put it in the Gita in his own way, that fight the battle, don't be Durval. But it's a very powerful passage where Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, it's in Sri Aurobindo's word, this is the creed of the Aryan fighter. Know thyself. Then look all around, and in this world where light and darkness are engaged in a battle, fight, if fight thou must, for this great battle. And he says that fight to help the oppressed. Men look up to thee, you are their hero and champion. Either fall nobly or rise to the heights and take that glory. He says, either way, thou shalt be glorious. So she says that either I do this work or I prefer to fall while trying this rather than being within the safe limits. This is the jajba, the angst, the energy, the making of a yogin on this path. That doesn't matter. Let me try Mount Everest. If there is avalanche, blinding sandstorms, so be it. The Divine Mother is holding me by the hands. If I fall by the side, I fall while trying the impossible. Not simply that like leading a neat life where everything is fine and a God who can assure all my 7 generations to feed upon. So this is what Savitri has brought with us, the fire, and this what she is sharing with us and awakening into us. So I will stop here and come back at 6:15 to continue with this.